back. Hi, everybody.
We are back with the Lynn and Scott and Friends show as we all see it. And thanks, everybody, for joining us once again on a Tuesday night. And, of course, all of our great friends who show up. Special howdy to Steve Rizzo. I haven't seen you in a while, brother.
Yeah, I've been traveling, and I've had pneumonia for a couple of weeks. And so that really knocked the crap out of me. I never had pneumonia before. I don't get sick often, but this thing hit me with a vengeance. So, but I'm better now.
Wow. Well, yeah, pneumonia that'll do it to you, brother. You're on the mend. You're all better now.
Excuse me.
You're all better now.
Oh yeah, I'm a lot better. It's just that it depletes you of everything. I mean, it just you don't want to do anything. You can't do anything, and then when you think you can't talk. Because every time you cough, every time you talk, you keep coughing. But from what I heard from the doctors I've been to, it's something that's going around the entire country. So they said it's a derivative from COVID.
Well, that makes sense.
It's not COVID, but it's like it's an offshoot of it. So
it's all right. Well, COVID, it deserves a sequel, right? It was so much fun. It was so much fun the first time. Let's do it again, right?
Just when you thought it was over.
Well, we're glad you're okay, and we're so happy to see you
I'm not
here.
okay. It's still, I'm still Steve, but
that explains everything.
Why do you think I became a motivational speaker? You think I want to help other people? No, I want to help myself. No, that's my new title. What about my needs? You laughed a couple of years ago. I had my team. I told them for 1 week, the name of the company is not going to be Laugh It Off Productions. It's going to be What About My Needs? So every time the phone rings, you got to answer it. What about my needs? How could you help me?
And how did that work for you guys?
It didn't work good at all. That's why it only lasted a week.
And what's in it for me?
And as the other motivational speaker in the house here, Mr. Two Hips, what do you got to say about that?
Only Rizzo.
Oh my gosh!
Everybody needs a shtick. Everybody needs a shtick. And Steve, it probably would have gone over better if Barnes and Noble had accepted your idea of having a help me section on the other side of the self-help section. So,
that's a great idea. That's funny. I wish I would have thought of that. I'm going to steal it. You don't mind, do you? Even if you do, I'm stealing it anyway. If it works, I'll take credit. If it doesn't, I'll say some idiot made it up. I don't know.
And there's two Scots on the show, so
very nice.
That all works.
You're talking about shtick. I'm noticing that my grandson is 11 years old. I swear he's going to be a stand-up. He's coming up with these sarcastic things. I have to share this with you. I was there a couple of days ago, and I'm sitting with my granddaughter. She's sitting on my lap, and she says, "Pop, how old are you?" I said, "I'm almost 72 years old." She goes, "Wow." And I hear my grandson in the next room going, "Hey, Pop, did you know Moses?" And I knew when he said it, he was going, "Yes," like that. Little bastard.
You taught him well.
So I'm going to tell you something I've not told anybody, but my confirmation name as a young Catholic was Moses.
Oh, really?
So you know Moses. Now the other part to that is when I said that, because you had to go up and you had to say to the priest who then passed it to the bishop when you're being confirmed, who say, I confirm you Moses, the bishop cracked up. And so we had the first few rows of the church. I'm like a 7-year-old boy, but the whole first couple rows of the church are laughing because they could hear what he had said, but nobody else knew what was going on. But I was very pleased, and to this day, I'm pleased that I cracked up a bishop in the, during my confirmation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you know what's even funnier is that I know that Rex is younger than you, so your grandson is really funny.
Can I get your grandma?
All right, Lynn, that's enough, okay?
You opened the door.
Yeah, I really did. You shut up too, Barry. Everyone shut the hell up today, all right? Leave me alone.
What you need is an
I just had pneumonia.
You need an errand.
That's what we should talk about today. The power of humor. Unleashing the power of your humor being.
Well, we did a
maybe
show
it's not a
recently.
good idea. I'm sorry.
No. We did a show recently.
What's
about
a human
the-
being?
Oh, that's right. I wasn't there because I had pneumonia.
Okay, you're right along.
No, we did have a show like that. I'm sorry, and I wanted to be on that.
I think we should play more on that, though. I think that's not a bad idea, and I think what it is, it's about unlocking that part of you that just allows yourself to be okay. We get so bogged down in everyday things, and you got to be serious, and you got to follow the rules, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and we all get bogged down in that. And the truth is, I mean, it's really easy to say, inner child or whatever you want to say. I mean, I don't believe in the inner child shit, but I'm definitely into just unlocking that joy within you.
Kick the shit out of that inner kid.
There you go.
Those you're in charge like that feedback.
Well, who could deny that? Look what's happening on the planet right now. I mean, not just in this country. Look what's happening everywhere. I mean, a sense of humor is crucial more than any other time, and a lot of people are finding difficult to find humor because they're focusing on all the crap that we're being bombarded with every day. My first book that I ever wrote was called "Becoming a Humor Being." I had no idea where it came from. I just started writing it, and it became so popular that I got endorsements from so many of the self-help people in the industry. And it was a simple, easy book. And it just made me, that's what made me started getting into going from stand-up to inspiring people in the self-help industry, is that we make life way more difficult than it has to be. And we're all born with these innate strategies to help us bounce back, to cope with things, not necessarily to make the problem go away, but to help us to work our way through it. To every now and then take those temporary timeouts to find the laughter around you. And it's just that sometimes, even when it's there and it's prevailing right in front of you, we're so caught up in the crap that we don't even allow ourselves to acknowledge that there's always time to laugh. There's always time to see the other side of life. And I think now more than ever, we need it.
I agree.
Yeah, I had to find humor when I failed my test this past week. And I found a lot of humor, except I was laughing and not laughing, because here you take a test and right at the end, they're asking you a survey. How was this test? Was it easy or not? And I'm like, well, just tell me if I passed and maybe I'll answer your freaking question. It's just like all these different things, like going through the whole process. And,
it just shifts your perspective on things. I remember a couple of years ago, I was having it was a real important business meeting. I was in DC and I was talking to a speakers bureau, and we're like 5 of us. It was a really nice Italian restaurant. And they were talking about my presentation. And in the presentation, I was talking about the power of humor. And the waitress, you could tell she was new, because you could tell she was nervous. I mean, you just knew it, but she was nice and she was wonderful. And as I'm talking about, it's crucial to find the humor in stressful situations. And as I'm saying that, she's trying to pull the cork out of the wine bottle. It's red wine. She pulls it too fast. The wine spills out all over my silk shirt, my suit, and all over me. She stops and stares and says, "I sure hope you can find the humor in that." And as soon as she said that, everyone started laughing. I mean, I was in tears, hysterical, because the poor girl said it with such sincerity.
Yeah.
And it broke the tension. It took me out of the mood.
Steve, to follow up with what you're saying, just actually probably about a half hour before I logged on, I was jumping through YouTube. I was looking for something, and I came across Don Rickles. And whenever I see Don Rickles, I stop. And Don Rickles was going through a crowd of what we would call the elite. There was it was an older one, so it was Clint Eastwood and Fred McMurray and Zsa Zsa Gabor and all the elite at the time that were all in this room. And he went around to each one of them, and he was so ungodly rude to each one of them. Just these, and they were laughing their asses off. They were finding the humor in what some people, if you say it today, would probably take you to court and sue you because you've done great psychological damage to them.
Good point.
We've
Great
lost the ability to laugh at ourselves.
Yeah.
We've lost the ability to find joy and find humor. And in place of, you have to respect what I think even before you know what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
You
we
have
have
to-
become so politically correct that we're stifling our laughter genes, our humor
Thank you.
genes. And right now in comedy clubs, man, it's almost a common thing now where someone's going to jump up and tell the comedian they have no right to say that. And you cannot stifle comedy. You can't. You don't like it, don't go.
So I want to add something to this because I think it's that I have something important to say and I want to say it.
But boom.
Just don't offend any of us. Just don't offend
Oh,
us.
shut up. And dummy, you dummy.
I'm recording it. I'm just going to make sure.
There you go. There you go. You know, now, but I'm jumping in for a number of reasons. One is there is somebody out there going, but I'm not funny. I don't know how to be funny. I don't know what to do. And they make a problem out of it instead of realizing all you have to really do is laugh. We're not asking you to be a comedian or a stand-up or a humorist or any of those things, but to find the humor that's around you and that's within you and then just express that. That's all we're saying. As far as Rickles, there's also this notion of context. Some of those people would have sued Rickles had he done that outside or somewhere else and not on TV. Now, if you're on television, there's something else that's going on, and that is the cameras are on you. You have to laugh. You can't not laugh because if you don't look, if you're not having a good time, it doesn't look right. That said, it's about context. So if you can find the humor in any context, the other thing is that Don Rickles off camera was a nice guy.
Yeah.
And, he could say, hey, I'm going to rib you. Is that okay? That kind of thing. It wasn't like, hey, asshole, I'm going to make fun of you on camera and embarrass you in front of millions of people, which who would want that?
Yeah.
Okay. I know some of you do, but some of you watching want that.
But I know, Rex, you asked Scott beforehand if you can intimidate him like that.
Well, always. It goes without saying nowadays. But I want to point out something else about the tests and things. When I went back to school, I went back as an adult and got grandfathered into certain aspects of school. Some things I had credit because I'd been in college before, and other things I had to now take because I didn't get grandfathered. So in my own major, I was brilliant. I got to say, I was brilliant. They wanted me to teach. They wanted me to tutor. They wanted me to. I was incredible, and my background is in science and communication and anthropology and all these different things. But I hate math. I absolutely hate math. You wouldn't think I do, or looking at me, you would think, wow, he knows math, but I don't. So in order to get my degree in the department, I had to pass a math test. So I studied, everything I could for the math test. I went in, I took the test. I missed by 2 points. The professor said, I'm sorry, you can't, I'm not going to give you your degree until you pass the test. So go take it again. I took it again. I failed by 5 points. I got worse. So he called me back in and said, I don't know what happened, but you did worse, but you got to take it again in order for me to get you this degree. I took it again. I did worse. I was like 10 points down. I mean, I'm like going, what the heck is going on? Let's take it one more time. I went in and I failed it again. And he said, get the hell out of here. I'm giving you your degree. At least you demonstrated a willingness to take the test, even if you know nothing.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is, I mean, in other words, don't apply any pressure. Just enjoy the process. You'll take it till you pass it, or whatever. And this is not just for you, but the point is that we all have things that we're really good at and some things that we're really not good at. And we don't have to be good at everything.
Yeah, no,
I love
agree.
you, Rex.
And that's crucial. Enjoyment is a part of humor. And a lot of people have a hard time enjoying the process because they're so focused on the destination that they bypass the journey towards it. And actually, I always tell people, and I firmly believe this, that when you're setting out, the journey should be your goal, not the destination. And every step along the way should be your primary concern, because that's where your life unfolds. That's where you're sending a message to the entire universe and to yourself and everyone you know that you're willing and able to achieve the things that you desire, no matter how difficult it is. And when you make that choice to enjoy yourself, you're giving yourself an advantage. Why would you want to put your happiness on hold and say, I'll be happy when I get to where I want to go? What if you don't get there for 5 to 10 years? And your subconscious is going, okay, I could wait. If you want to wait, I'll wait that long. That's fine with me.
That's a good,
Yeah.
That's a good point. That's why I'm going to bring Barry in right on that point.
Thank you. I want to spin a different direction for a second. For some people, they're not willing to be serious or have an honest communication. They'll be funny to laugh it off. So there is the downside of this as well. Just to be clear, we're not talking about just you must be this way only. It's with intention, with consciousness. But yeah, to echo what Steve said, because we shifted into from humor to happiness. Happiness is definitely something that is a choice you can make every single moment of the day. It doesn't require you getting somewhere to get it. So if you can have happiness when you go to the DMV, which I've done before, which is actually a lot of fun when you do that, because it's not as bad. Because the thing is, that's the thing. We say DMV, people go, oh, crap. Oh, no. And everyone gets panicky. It's like, no. If you change your state, and this is one thing I'm taking from what Steve said, when you bring happiness with you, which I've done before the DMV, it becomes contagious. And what happens is, I don't mean like suddenly everyone starts laughing. What I mean is when I go to speak to the people behind the counter, they don't act the way they normally do because they've been so beaten down by the system and by all the people coming complaining and being depressed. When I come in just being lighthearted, not being like a light in the room, just being lighthearted, they go, oh, I can relax a bit. They can be more, there's more amenability, there's more joy there.
Yep.
So Steve definitely bringing lightheartedness, not like cracking jokes all the time, but just being in a place of happiness that is authentic and real. It touches people. You can lift people from where they were to where they want to be. So it's a gift.
Yeah.
I'll agree with you on everything you're saying. I will also say that there's a lot of people who believe I have to achieve or do or have for happiness. They don't believe it's a choice.
When I get this, I'll have this. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and they get kind of stuck in that. It's like, I will be happy when this happens. I will be happy when that happens.
When I get this new car, I'll be happy. When I have that new house, I'll be happy. When I have a new relationship, I'll be happy. It's all that dependent stuff, which doesn't work.
So how do you explain? How can you explain, or maybe any of us can answer this? How can you actually explain that this is actually your choice to choose to be happy? I mean, it sounds ridiculous to most people. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, let me say it this way: if you can't find something to be happy about in any part of your life, maybe it's that you had dinner last night, or you met a friend today, or you didn't have anything bad happen to you. You find any ways of being happiness. It doesn't require a long search. But when you start setting up your life to be, when I get there, then I'll have what I want. You'll be in a place of perpetual. It basically becomes like the hamster wheel.
You never get there.
Right. So when I want to shut up, but one of the things that
nicely done.
No, I really do. But there's an aspect of some of this that's really. I think historically that people need to understand, if you go to a therapist or a psychiatrist or psychologist, all of which are good. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not, but understand that there's a built-in incentive to not have you get well if you're paying to see somebody to work on your problems. Right. So if you say whatever you say, while they can sit there and help you, there are cross purposes if they help you get better, because then you leave and go away. Now in business, we would say that's great. You help somebody and now they're going to go spread the word. Somehow that doesn't really work in the therapeutic model really well. So you end up with people who are in therapy for long, long periods of time, who are coddled, who are, they're supported in their problem instead of getting over their problem. So when you say, there are people who have this issue or they can't do this or they don't understand that it's a choice, it's because either in therapy or outside of therapy, they're not being told, look, you have a choice, you can choose, and you just have to make the choice. It may seem uncomfortable or difficult or hard, but just, face it. Some things in life may seem difficult, and that'll depend on how you view them. I mean, and I'm not saying that they aren't, but I'm also not saying that they are. You make what, the people don't get the notion that our reality is comprised by what we think it is. And that often sounds, oh, well, that's just bullshit. But it's not, because if you take two people, it's like having two taco stands on a corner. One can be wildly successful and the other be totally a failure. And one person can be wildly happy and the other person can be wildly depressed. And they both have the same essentially background, economics, background environment, background upbringing, background everything. So it boils down to one person versus the other. Not that they're better or worse than the other person, but they're making different choices.
Yeah.
And because it's always going to come down to choice. And you say to people, hey, you could be happy in spite of that. And they go, well, no, I can't. What if such and such a thing happened? How could I be happy then? And the question is figure that one out.
Well, it's like
The person who felt deprived of choices most of their life because of addiction and where I grew up in different things. The idea that I have a choice at all just brings me joy in itself. That I get to make my choice. And even if I fall on my face, I get to say, hey, I tried. I did it. And, but having that choice itself, that freedom of choice is absolute a source of joy. And it could be for most people. Scott, what do you think, brother?
Well, I think that's the biggest thing. It's about all those choices. A couple Saturdays ago, there were multiple events going on, and I chose to go to Atlanta to help launch the Second Chances book. And it was an amazing experience with people that I had never met before, co-authors, and listening to the stories and being around that. And I couldn't stay for the entire event because I had other commitments. And people were like, I can't believe that you came for just part of it. And I said, well, that was my choice. I had a choice to either come for part of it or none of it. And so
Nice.
I chose to come for part of it and take advantage of getting to know as many people as much as I could during that period of time. And, would I wish that I could have stayed for the rest of it? Absolutely. But there were other commitments that were there. So the reality is everybody has the ability to make those choices and be happy or whatever. Now, it was an amazing event. We had 14 authors there. We all spoke about our stories in the book, and we all helped launch the book and all that. And it was an extremely loving event, and everybody was hugging on each other, and everybody was very joyous until the next day when the text came out that said, oh, David tested positive for COVID. How's everybody feeling? And 15 of us were sick and have been sick ever since.
Wow.
Aw.
So, but the reality is it was worth it. It was worth it to be there and be in the whole thing. And even the part of, the entire group got sick because they were so caring about the entire project and everything that was going on.
But
you can sit and get all upset about it.
But that's
you
the
can
cool
say-
thing. That's the cool thing with you, Scott, because you chose to look at the benefit from it, even though you got sick.
I escaped it for 3.5 years. Okay. Bastard finally caught up with me. And I think I got Rizzo's pneumonia and about 4 other things. Not one thing could take me down. It took multiple things. So I'm
There
a
you
tough son of a bitch.
there
But
you go.
the point is that you go through it all and you can be absolutely, we're at a time where I think it's time, in my opinion, for people to flip a switch and start making the choice that they have the choice, that, you can watch all the minutia that's going on around you, and there's plenty of it. And you can be absolutely miserable, and the chances are you're going to go down the tank doing that. You're not going to have a positive outcome, more than likely. History would say that. Or you can make the choice to look at the things that you could do to make something better, to help somebody out, to do. Rex did the original interviews with the kids in Pakistan. I've now done 6 of them. I think I'm scheduled for 6 more.
Yeah.
And I even brought up to my group, would you do, if somebody reached out from Pakistan for you to be on their podcast, would you be on? And I did a survey of a bunch of people. Well, we don't know what it would bring us. How about the ability to practice your material? How about the ability to treat somebody with dignity, honor, and respect? How about the ability to show somebody in Pakistan that you respect the fact that they're 13, 14, 15 years old working to learn something that you as kids are sitting on their thumbs, not even trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
I even opened it up and I said, why don't we take this to the schools in the United States? Novel concept that we had to learn it from kids in Pakistan, but we did. But that started because Rex started it, or maybe somebody else started it beyond Rex, but he was the first one.
Somebody asked me, someone said, I'd really like to interview you, based on some summit or something I was on. And I said, okay, sure. I had no idea that it was a kid. I had no idea.
I didn't either.
And I said, okay. And so when I did, I was shocked. It was a young girl, probably anywhere from 13 to 17. I don't know how old she is. And she was more professional than a lot of the people I deal with every day. I was like, oh my goodness. So, and then somebody else asked, and I now have like hundreds of Pakistani friends and more of these things than I could ever do. I mean, we're doing one every hour.
That's the way I am too. But what you're learning from these kids is they are doing research. They're going to your social medias. They're finding questions. They're asking me questions that I haven't been asked on a podcast forever. And so I was encouraging other people to sit there and say, here you are, you're looking for exposure. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're going to get the best exposure in the history of ever, but how about the opportunity to practice your answers? Yeah. How about the ability for you to be a great interviewee? So again, all those things become choices,
right?
To take a situation and turn it into. I did the exact same thing. All of a sudden, they showed up because the picture was the picture of the kid and the father, and I thought I was being interviewed by the father, and I was being interviewed by the kid.
Well, just so that I don't know if you've experienced this. There are adults in that same school, so I've had some interviews, but what I found was when this girl interviewed me, and then a number of people had messengered me as a result. I was like, I'm down with their mission. The guy that started this school said they want to make $500 monthly income for these kids to work remote, and they're young kids, and they're taking. I mean, if American kids were that enterprising,
exactly,
and they would own the world in a few years, because I was like, I'm down with this mission. If I can help these kids in Pakistan or wherever they are in the world, then by all means, but yes, you can practice your interview skills and be interviewed, and there's a whole lot of side benefits that you can derive. But I was like, what an incredible opportunity to give to these kids.
Yes.
I have no idea where these interviews are going, or if they are ever seen or anything like that. I'm just like, they're trying to accomplish something, and more power to each and every one of them.
I think the other side of it is you've got Westerners that can speak and show respect, honor, and dignity to them, and not belittle them or not make fun of them. And again, these have become choices, but this is it's fun. It's all of a sudden creating, and it comes back to the, how do we find humor in the day? I mean, just to try to have them, the first one was trying to speak all the questions, which was a study in listening. Let's put it that way. And then the rest of them all had the questions typed out, but then they'd try to read them. And what they were saying and what was written were not close to the same thing. But it became fun to be able to do these things. And I think that's, why do we do this show? We do this show because it's fun. If we don't enjoy being here, that's why we pick at each other a little bit and we do all these different things. We've got the choice to make our day whatever we want it to be. And there's plenty of external pressure that is doing everything it can to make it less than fun. So why not make it fun? I was at the grocery store the other day and checking out, and this lady said, "Why are you smiling at me?" And I said, "Because I can." And she goes, "Okay, good. Keep it up." I said, "Okay, I will."
I want to interject real quick, and I mean, I can say this about all of you guys, but I'm going to pick on Rex really quick because he's He's one that always sticks out there. Rex is like, he's in all of these things. You know, you ask him to be in anything and he'll be there. And Joe is part of this production of the hero's journey. And if you go follow Rex, you'll see that he'll be part of this here within the hour. So, you know, go ahead and I invited Joe to be here. He couldn't be here, but
well,
that's
let me speak on the behalf.
Yeah,
Bill Janishek and Joe and Frank Ingram have put together the hero's journey, which is an 8-week adventure featuring different speakers over the 8 weeks. Sharon is kicking it off this evening. I don't know if she's solo or if there's another. I think Lisa Copeland. Yeah, there you go. I think is speaking with, you know, or not with her, but next to her. And so each week at this time, Tuesdays and Thursdays, for 8 weeks, we're going to have this journey go down. And you know, it's I think it was Bill's dream, you know, and Joe and Frank have jumped on, and they are all producing this thing together, and it's a remarkable opportunity for everybody to explore, you know, the concept of the hero's journey, which is in Star Wars, and you know, all that.
And I've got a lot of friends on there. I mean, I got a lot of friends that are speaking there, so I'm honored to call them all friends. And
how do you sign up for that, or where do you go?
Well, it's Facebook Live, or it's a Facebook thing. If you go to I don't know how to tell you. You can go to Joe's wall. You can go to
you can go to Rex's.
You can go to my
there's
wall.
A link.
You know, and there's links there. It's one of they created an event. You know, and I actually I messaged one of them that said maybe, you know, it should all be scheduled and everything should be from the website, because they do have like a hero's journey website.
Yeah. But put that back up, Lynn, for a second. Put that.
Let me see if I can.
The other one.
Yeah.
Here's
heroesjourneylive.com. So that's heroesjourneylive.com.
That's their website. So let me see if I can find the link on my wall to share here in the chat room. But that, hopefully there's information there. But I was like, I didn't even know how to get there today.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
if you look at events, it should be on events and stuff too. But
well, maybe that's what it's an event. Yep. Okay, here we go. Here's the link. I'll stick it in there. But I want to ask a question, you know, essentially of Scott or anybody, but to tie in with what we're doing. And I got to find out where we are. I got to come back and find Lynn and Scott. Where the heck did you go?
We're right here.
And I'm gonna put John in real quick here to hear his DJ voice. How you doing, John?
Yeah, first of all, Moses, I love the way Rodney Dangerfield portrayed you in the Back to College movie. I like how you went back to school.
You gotta be good if that's all right.
All worked out well. No, you know, the funny thing is, and Theodora, thank you for not climbing in the fireplace. When you got up to leave, it looked like you were literally climbing into your fireplace.
I was going to be Santa Claus.
Exactly. You know, and real quick, just going back to the comedy stuff. I know we've talked about this, and you know, I always tell my sales team, man, get out of your comfort zone. You got to push yourself, because there's so many people right now that are in their comfort zone that aren't expressing themselves, that aren't setting yourself apart from anybody else. Easy is so good, man. If you can't laugh at yourself, laugh at yourself. And I've told this story how I've gone to work. I don't know if it's age, and I've had 2 different shoes on, or I was doing a Facebook Live one day, and I got a text from my buddy, and he goes, "Do you know your sweater's on inside out?" Oh, it was on inside out. I didn't know it until I get it. I'm not a big, you know, fashion guy, but as I'm doing my Facebook Live, I reached in my sweater and I felt a seam. And I'm like, this should be on the other side. This is not where it needs to be. You know what? I didn't care. I laughed at myself. Go back to choices. You want choices. You want to have fun at a lunch or a dinner meeting. And I do this all the time. You're with a group of people, you're having a good time, and you want one of 2 things. And you get a waitress or a waiter kind of crabby. You know what? Let them make the choice. You know what? I love the tortellini or I love the steak. Well, which do you want? You tell me. For me, it's a surprise at lunch. I think it's fun. For them, it gives them a little more control. And that switches absolutely everything. So talking about choices, and do they look like you're out of your mind? Well, I want to. I don't know what I want. Surprise me. I'll be surprised when I have lunch and everything's good. And then it gets contagious. Then the mood changes. Once one person cracks that egg at the table, at the meeting, wherever it is, everybody You feel it in the room. You feel the vibe in the room completely change. Attitudes change. Things get done. And it's just a lot more fun. It's common sense, man. It's not rocket science. Everyone can do it. Everyone has it. You just got to bring it out in that person that doesn't have it. And, man, when you bring it out in them, it's all over.
I love you, John. I love you.
Love you more.
It's so true. It's so true. I have to share with you guys what Scott said earlier, that Scott, you were smiling in the grocery store and that woman asked you, why are you smiling? I found
It was Theodore. No, just kidding.
I find myself always smiling to people. And I think I was in a store a while ago, but it happens all the time. People smile at me and I was in the store with Alma and I thought, why is everybody smiling at me? Why is everybody, do I have something on my face? Is something wrong? Is my pants? What's going on? And Alma said, well, Mom, you smile at them, so they would just respond. So it is so easy to, just like John said, to transform the atmosphere in the room by our presence with how we go in. But also, I think it's important to know how to manage our lows when we're not happy, when we do need that comedy show, when we do need Steve Rizzo in our mind telling the joke so that we can laugh and we can just bounce back. I was crying all day yesterday, and that was okay. And, we get through this and they're needed. I feel like we can't be up with that. We can't all the time be happy. We have to maybe experience the sadness as well.
Yeah.
But
If you were happy all the time, you wouldn't know it because you wouldn't have anything to compare it with.
Well, I disagree with that.
Of course you do. You disagree with a lot of things.
If happiness is a choice, why couldn't you choose to be happy all the time? Why do we come back and say, well, you can't be happy all the time if it's a choice?
No, it's the dichotomy of life, Rex. If you didn't have,
fine, that's all fine. Whatever the reason or the excuse is, I buy it. I'm not saying that you are happy all the time. I'm saying the thought behind you can't be happy all the time or you shouldn't be happy all the time is just another thought.
And a choice.
Exactly. But that's a choice too.
Well, but that's the point, and I want to shut up, but I want to say this first.
Don't shut up.
Scott went to the store and was talking to people. Theodore went to a store. How did you get there? Did you just suddenly find yourself there? Were you captured by someone and taken to the store? Or did you choose to go? How come we choose to go to the store, but we don't choose to be happy? Hatred is a choice, but people say, no, it's those people. We keep giving the power to everything around us instead of claiming it for ourselves and realizing that everything is a choice, even if it's just a habit. So make new choices about your habits and change your habits. We could be peaceful. We could be happy. We could be loving. We could be kind. We could be generous. We can be compassionate. We can be tolerant and accepting and allowing and all these kinds of things, but we don't choose it as much as we could be choosing it. And if more people around the world started choosing peace and harmony and understanding and the willingness to communicate instead of fight and bitch and maybe we'd all be better off. But someone will say, you can't do that. Or they'll say it's never going to happen. And with that in mind, it ain't going to happen.
And that's a choice too when they say that.
Yeah.
But let's put Theodora back in the middle. Give her time.
Please, because I don't mean to take away from you.
Theodora, I wanted to ask you because you work with finances. Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily the, hey, let's all smile and be happy about what's going on. Most of the time you're dealing with things that are really one of the greatest stressors that we have in our life is financial stress. So, how do you deal with that without I would say hijacking their anxiety,
How I do it, I go in with a positive attitude. And I give them hope because there's always hope. And
that's if you choose it, right?
Well, right. But you do because you want them to feel better, because you want your clients to be in a better position. And here's the thing, you do have the answer to their journey, going through what they're going through, to where at the other side, they will be in a better position.
Because
So-
you chose a good career to do that with.
You choose to do the right thing for people 100% of the time. And that with that attitude and that belief, which I 100% believe in doing the right thing for people, it's easy to go in and give them hope and give them, like that something to hold on to where, yes, they can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
I think that speaks directly to the point of what Rex was saying, is that you can go into those and just get buried in the muck and the mire of the situation and get in there with them and say, well, here's your deal, people. You're screwed. You could go in there and you can have that. And it's like, well, maybe tomorrow will be better, but today's going to suck. But you could go in and say, listen, all right, we got a situation, but we can go in with positivity and with hope and you make that choice to do that. I think maybe we get mixed up in thinking happiness means we're laughing all the time. You can't do that. You got to take time to breathe. I think that it's about positivity and a happy attitude more than just, you don't laugh at everything. Certainly it would probably be inappropriate. But to go in with that positive attitude and to choose to be positive and say, hey, we can do this. This is good. Right?
We got this. We got this. And even, I want to continue what I said about crying yesterday all day. It was a choice. I have to let out my stress in crying. If it takes a day or it takes a week or it takes, I never really become violent or any breaking or anything. I let my stress out through crying. And that's a way of release to me. So in the moment, maybe I don't see that, oh, wait a minute, I'm so sad. I want to give up. And, I learned about myself that it's so easy to just let it out, cry it out, reach out to somebody that can maybe listen to me crying like a baby. And then next day to bounce back and be, the bubbly and happy and positive person that I am. But if I don't cry it out, I will just exhaust myself and I would just, go ballistic. And
so I want to say I applaud that. I really do, because when Steve said the dichotomy of life, it's like there's night and there's day, and that's just the way it is. But how we react to night or day is our choice.
Yes.
And if you want to cry, go ahead and cry. And if you don't want to cry, then don't go ahead and cry. I mean, in other words, it's the people who say, I have no choice in crying, I have no choice in laughing, where the issue is. So you're human. If someone passes away, you have every opportunity to grieve. It doesn't mean that has to take away from your happiness. It just means that you're grieving and happy, but you're not happy about the death of somebody, but it's not taking your inner qualities away and devastate. You know what I mean? In other words, you're still present, in your grieving without it being a problem. So this is beautiful to say, I do this, but if you say I can't survive unless I do that, then I would say maybe there are other ways to begin to understand that.
And I have to tell you one more thing. One of the most interesting places that I have to go every 5 weeks is to go get an IV and get a treatment. And it's always very interesting, the atmosphere that is in the room there, because remember, those are all patients, right? Like 14 chairs, so all reclining chairs are all patients that sit there and get their treatment, and somebody are in a bad shape. It's so interesting how happy people are in that room in the condition they are in, because they just choose to. Because they just go there to know that life, they have to go through it. And some would go and maybe read, some would chat with other people. And even people in final stages are somewhat at peace. They're like, this is good. I'm here. I'm present. I choose to be happy. I'm here because I need this so that I can continue living. Beautiful. And it's just such a wonderful place to be.
Yeah, it's not sad.
They're in the room.
I've been there with you. That's true.
That's
beautiful.
I don't think it could be said any better than that about what the choices are that we have. That given we can decide the circumstances, good or bad, and live within good or bad, or we can make the circumstance what we want to make it and be happy.
Well, yeah. Two hips, your friend, Two Hips, Scott. the gentleman with no arms and legs, who's when the people say, "How can you be happy without arms and legs?" and he says, "How can you not be happy with arms and legs?"
Well, that's why it's so incredible to be with Nick and just to hear his story. You know, he's sitting there and he even he says, I don't know what's going to happen in my life, but I got a pair of shoes in my closet just in case. you know, I mean, he's one of the happiest guys you've ever seen.
Oh, God bless him.
He utilizes everything he has. You know, his dad told him, he said, you don't have arms, you don't have legs, but you do have a brain. And he's been able to use that. And I mean, he's spoken to 3.5 billion people live in front of him at this point, somewhere between 3.5 and 5 billion. I mean, that's most of the people on the planet. It's amazing that you take that situation, you know, what he was born with, and utilize it fully. And has he had down times? Absolutely. He'll tell you about his down times. He'll tell you about those things, but he'll also tell you about his blessings. He has 4 kids. He's got a loving wife. He's got an amazing life. He goes around the world and he inspires people to, and so again, when you're sitting there, and I know that I've sat there, you know, going on stage afterwards and going,
look at that smile.
You know, that's exactly it. What do I have to, you know, I've got titanium hips, and we were talking about that. And he says, yeah, at least yours are titanium. You got some, you know, I mean, it's like the whole point is you don't recognize how blessed you are until you recognized how blessed you are. And then you go from that point forward. You know, it becomes a determination and a choice and an everything else to go do this. As Rex was saying earlier, and everybody's been saying, we have the choice to make our life whatever we want to make it. Some of us have more tools. Some of us have more, you know, things around us to accomplish it. But with whatever we have, we can make it whatever we want it to be the very best. And you can be that encourager, you can be that lifter, you can do that. Just, you know, it's so fun to talk to people, and just have the ability to talk to people. I mean, think about it through the pandemic when we all of a sudden everybody shifted to video conferences instead of being on the phone. And yes, we used to use the phone before that. We went to video, and then we got to see everybody, which meant we got to smile at people, which means we get to laugh with them, which means we had to have virtual happy hours, and we got to do all sorts of different things that we had never thought of before. And now we're doing it with kids in Pakistan and going, you know, we do have a time zone difference. One kid said, I've scheduled you for your thing. Your time is 12 a.m. I said, no, your time is 12 a.m., not my time. You know, we are going to learn time zones here. But the point is, we've all had this ability to utilize this time that was such a disruptor and so jacked up, and we can use it for such good if we start to understand that we have the choice to use it for good, and we have the choice to be supportive of each other and all those kinds of things. Why wouldn't we support each other to the very best that we possibly can? Yeah. Just makes sense.
Yep. We need to start wrapping it up around here, Mr. Scott Jones.
Yeah, we're getting to that point.
But if we chose not to?
That's our choice.
We could choose not to. We could laugh and be happy, or we can get serious and dark and talk about
Steve is too serious.
I
too serious.
You know, I just you know, I got to think back on things that I've gone through in my life, and I'm not going to go into my story because we've heard it too many times, and it's been repeated. But what I will say is that I've been at really, really low points where I thought, you know, the whole world was against me. There was nothing left. I was worthless, and there was a whole lot of things that went on. But it was in those times when I ended up growing the most. And it was in those times when I had to get through something that I started to grow. I learned, and so at some point in your life, you've got to be able to have built up enough experiential evidence to understand that when there's a problem in front of us, we can look at it differently than how we used to look at it when we didn't have any experience. We've got experience now. We understand that we can handle things. So I think Sigmund Freud said, one day in retrospect, the years of struggle will be looked upon as the most beautiful. And, that's kind of how I see things. And everybody goes through hard times, financial times, family crisis, death, whatever it might be, illness. Everybody goes through hard times, but that's kind of part of what makes all of this crazy ride worth it. And, don't get so stuck in the moment that you miss the lessons that you can learn and all the cool things. And have some fun. Try a positive attitude. What is the old thing? If God brings you through it, God will bring you through it. Or if God brings you to it, God will bring you through it. If that's the way you want to go, that's fine. I just say, you know what? If you've made it this far, whatever's put in front of you, you can do. Just don't get buried in anger and resentment and fear and hate and everything else that's going on in the world right now. It's just a sad, sad thing. Be happy, laugh a little, get together with a group of friends. Start your own podcast, just not on Tuesday nights at 7. Get a group of friends together, share ideas, learn from each other. I walk away from these things feeling energized. I can't wait to go start the next day and share things that you guys have told me and pawn it off as my own, sure. But still, just to make sure that the message gets out there.
I love it.
Let's do our wrap-ups.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Rex go because I think Rex, are you talking tonight on? Okay, so you're good. Okay, so Theodora, let's start with you on the wrap-up.
One year when I was in school, I think it was previous years, she made a little thing and she gave it to me. It says joy.
Aww.
And she made it in art and it's meant to be able to be rubbed. So I don't know how to show you guys, but
beautiful.
It has this, it's like deep to where you can rub it. And she gave it to me and she said, Mom, I want you to carry this with you. So I realized that maybe she's giving me a hint. Maybe my joy was not where it was supposed to be. And isn't it so incredible how our kids just feel and know what we need if we would just listen? And I think it's valid for our friends around us, the world around us, maybe people smile at us because we need more of that. Maybe our kids give us hints because they just know, they just have a secret down in their intelligent heart. But I just thought I would share this. And even if maybe a rock, there's so many stores that would carry these things that we can put in our pocket to just remind us that we might need more joy.
Oh, that's beautiful,
Love
Theodora.
that.
Thank you for
that.
being here, Theodora. I love you. Your support.
We missed you.
I
missed you, and it's so interesting how the universe works. I guess I needed this, right?
I needed you to be here too.
We all need you.
Love you so much.
John.
And you know what, Theodore? Those are actually worry stones. If you Google that, I have one from Ireland where it fits your thumb and you hold it and it makes you feel better when you do it, right? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to wrap up real quick. And Scott, it was funny you brought up that gentleman. I was at an event a couple of years ago, and there was a Paralympic skier who had a left leg, no arms. And someone raised their hand and he said, before you ask your question, I know what it is. What do you do for shoes? And he said, you know what? I went on Facebook. I found a guy with a right leg that's 11 and a half. And what we do when we buy shoes, he sends me the left. I send him the right. No harm, no foul. For me, I looked at that going, that's a choice, man. This guy chose to go out on Facebook. He has more shoes than he knows to do it, but he found a gentleman with this, or a woman, a gentleman with the same affliction, but he chose to make that positive. I am now helping. Oh, she's going back in the fire. This is so. I mean, besides it, as we talk about it, it's all a choice. No matter what we do every day, you wake up tomorrow, you have a choice. But to make the day fun, I can't get out of bed without making it fun. Because what happens if you don't? You go to bed, you reflect on your day, you make it fun. There's a dude shipping shoes all over the United States to a right-footed guy, and he's getting left-foot shoes. They're having fun. With that affliction, if they can do it, man, there's no reason we can't do it.
I love it, John.
Excellent.
Thank you so much. Mr. Barry.
I'll try and keep this brief because it's something that came up during the conversation. It's easy for us to find things to be upset about, feel sad about. Just turn on the news, look outside at certain people's behaviors, look at the homeless situation, go compare yourself against other people unfavorably. It's easy to do that. For most people, they don't realize how easy it is to choose something different. The truth is that we make what's easier to access the most common thing. If we chose simply, and we talked about choice a lot so far today, if we make a choice to look for the things that make us happy, to look for the things that are good, to look for the good news, like Scott and John were talking about, where there are people out there doing things that maybe we didn't realize we could do better than them. If we compared ourselves with where we were, maybe we did better, maybe we did worse. But the truth is, where you are now is good enough. Your focus, your homework, if you're watching this, your homework assignment is to find things that look good in your life, to make you feel good, and start being happy. Because when you are happy, it will change the world around you.
Thank you, Barry, the love doctor.
Thank you.
We're blessed to have you, the love doctor, here. Now we got Mr. Rex Sikes. Life on your own terms and choices. And I love what Rex always says: pig, dog, poop, or diamonds. you
there you go. You said it all. I don't need to say anything. This is awesome. But I will. I'll go back to something that Steve said about the college campuses where comics can't voice their comedy because people are saying you can't say that. It's one thing to choose not to do something. It's another thing to try and prevent somebody else from expressing themselves, or telling other people what they can and cannot do. And sadly, that's some of what's going on in the world today. And that's something that we all have to live with because we'll be faced by it for somewhere, with someone telling us that we're wrong or that we can't do things. If you accept that with violence, that's a choice. If you accept that and let it go without ego, that too is a choice. The choices you make will determine whether you get punched in the face or get a smile, or whether so my injunction in the world is the Hippocratic oath, first seek to do no harm and second seek to do good. But that means allowing everybody the opportunity to do the same without putting any of your parameters or my parameters on them and how they should be or shouldn't be. So how people choose to live their life and what they do is completely up to them and okay. I don't want to support people in being broken. I want to support them in being human, but I don't want to support them in being broken or being wounded or being less than what they think they can. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to slap them up in order to get them to, wake up about themselves. So the thing is that I do want to support people in their resourcefulness and their possibilities and in their opportunities. And to do that, I think requires love and compassion and understanding and a willingness to not think you're so damn important that you have the only way that things ought to be.
I love Rex. Okay, so after that we go, that sucks. What now?
Well, the reality is I had the opportunity again to share that in Atlanta a week ago, and it was so talk a little bit about that and in a lot of the stories and a lot of the different things. And that book really came out of a desire for people to have better answers if they were as blessed as I was to come through what I came through. But there's such bad answers out there. And so it's really about the subtitle of real world solutions for getting through what you're going through. And a big part of that is your attitude and being happy and making the choices to be fun. And again, that's why this show is fun, because we cut up with each other. We heckle each other a little bit. We do all the different things just to have fun. And that was one of the, when I was speaking last week, it was such a free flow. I had written down 9 words, 3 sets of 3 words, and 22 and a half minutes later, I was done. So out of those 9 words came a 22-minute talk, but it was about having fun with the audience and encouraging them to have fun with others and tell their stories, because their stories were important to other people to lift them up. It's not about the stories, it's about the lifting up. And I think that that's what we can do when we have fun. Nobody wants to be around a sourpuss. It just that's not where they want to be. I mean, if you're happy, tell your face. I mean, you have some fun along the way. Just have a good time, and that's why this show is so fun, and I'm honored to be part of it. Thank you.
Oh, I'm honored to have you here. Now, this isn't last but not least. Conversation with Bob. Also, Mr. Steve Rizzo here.
I'm sorry, I got to get going. It's my choice. It's my choice. It's just not making a choice. Life is a series of choices. And for every choice you make, there's always a consequence. Whether you make it consciously or unconsciously. Could you take the friggin' books out of the way, please?
No. What? Do you need to see yourself
I
to
feel
talk?
like I'm tripping over here. I'm going, do. And for every choice you make, there's always a consequence, whether it's made consciously or unconsciously. In fact, where we are, all your listeners, where we are at this point in our lives is based on choices that you made at some point in the past, whether you want to admit it or realize it or not. Those choices are the key factors that determine your quality of life. My brother Michael passed away 10 months ago. Some of you know he's 100% disabled from the Vietnam War, the only man in medical history that ever survived that kind of wound. He joined the Marines. He was so proud of his country. And I was bold enough to ask him. And by the way, he didn't just survive. He thrived with what he did with his life. And it was all because of the choices he made every step of the way. 3 days before he passed away, I sat with him. And I said, I have to ask you this question, because we knew he was going to pass on because hospice was in the house preparing him. And I looked at him, and we're brutally honest with each other. I said, I have to ask you this. I said, weren't you ever angry at your country? Did you ever get upset for the wound that you had? You're the only man in medical history, as far as they know, that survived that wound and what it did to you and the pain and the suffering that you went through your whole life. Did you ever curse your country or regret it? And it was a pause, a long pause. And he grabbed my hand and he held it and he said, I'm going to tell you something. He goes, no one's ever asked me that question. And yeah, there were a few times when I thought I was going to snap. He goes, but something clicked. I said, what was that? He goes, at that point in my young life, I honestly believed that my country needed me to go into the Vietnam War. He goes, I believed it with my heart and soul, and I chose to fight for my country. It was only years later, after I was wounded and I was in and out of the hospital for so many years, it was only when I found out that it was a war we shouldn't have been in. And he goes, and I realized right there that I had a choice. He goes, I am not a fortune teller. I didn't have a crystal ball. I couldn't look and see what was going to happen. I made the right choice at that point in my life. It didn't work out the way I thought it was going to. Now I realized I was set with a whole set of different choices to make. And he goes, and I had a choice. I could have focused on what was missing and what happened, or I could have focused on what I had left and move forward with what I had. And that was the choice I took. And I took it every step along the way. And he looked at me square in the face and he goes, and everyone on this planet has the choice to view their circumstances from that perspective. And if you don't, the chances are you're going to go down, and you're going to go down fast.
Well, I'm glad for his service, and being that Veterans Day is this weekend, it's nice to hear that. And again, sorry for your loss, and you know.
But the thing is that choice he made was insane. What he did with his life. He went to college. He was 95 pounds. He graduated with high honors. He went to the same school he graduated from. He became a history teacher, assistant principal. And then when he wanted to retire, they wouldn't let him. They made him superintendent of the entire school system. That was all based on a choice that he made. He could have been bitter and said, screw that. There was a friend that he got wounded with where hardly anything happened. He was wounded in his arm. This guy was so bitter to this day at the country and didn't amount to much and is not doing much with his life because he's hanging on to his anger, and that's a choice that he made.
Yep, inspiration.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you need to write his story.
I am. I'm starting now called My Brother, My Hero.
I love it. I love it. I think that's where we should end this, and that's a beautiful story. Well, you guys.
But I'm only kidding. I really don't have a brother. I just thought I'd.
Whatever. You guys, this has been great. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to. I'll be thinking of you guys when I take my test tomorrow.
Yeah, good luck, Lynn.
So, thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you. And you know, again, we forget it's how the reason why we have this show and the reason why we have some amazing people that come on the show is because you have all different walks of life and experience on here, and you guys bring your expertise here. You're all thought leaders and just amazing people. We are blessed to have you here in our presence, but it's all our different perspectives, and for you guys to share your time and be here is just an amazing honor, and we're just better people for it. And you know, it just to see Steve's face here again, we really have missed you, and so we're running out of time here, so we're gonna stop here. But again, just love you guys so much.
Thank you guys.
Yes, Rex, absolutely.
The hero's journey is going to start in just a few moments. It's the incredible Sharon Lecter and Lisa Copeland.
Absolutely.
Joe, Frank Ingram, and Bill Janishek. Go check it out. And all you have to do is type hero's journey into your search bar, and it'll take you to the place.
All right, you guys. Love you guys. Bye.
Keeping me safe and sound. And when